Hello, my name's Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, the podcast that's all about memories and how fuzzy and weird and delightful and wonderful they are, especially when you are talking about lost queer spaces and how those spaces helped shape you. And this month, June, which is like the month that we're in, unless you're listening to this when it's not June, in which case, just imagine that it's June. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's summer. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's winter and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, this month we're doing greatest hits. We're looking back on old episodes and we're kind of enjoying the journey, which is a word that I just can't seem to escape. I hate it, but I can't think of a useful alternative. If you can, let me know. Anyway, I'm choosing episodes based on vibe. I'm choosing episodes based on the memory that I have of the conversation that I had with the person. And it's been kind of fun looking back, but it's also like this weird thing. And I think nostalgia is such a intoxicating drug, but also like the come down is tough, you know, like looking back on all of these conversations and remembering where I was at in my life at the time when I was having these conversations is a really kind of weird thing for me. And I am going off topic, so let's get on to topic. One of the most favoritist things that I like to discuss on this show is when people move from a small town and go to a big city. And it's like especially resonant for me when that city that they're moving to is London. And so when I sat down to have this conversation with the comedian Naomi Mourra, it was just like, oh, feed me more, tell me more. And this one like has an extra dimension because Naomi moved from Australia to London, which is an experience that I had. And it just, there's something intoxicating about London and something so magical about this city. And it's so wonderful to hear other people's experiences of showing up here and thinking that everything was going to work out and then that not quite being the case. But that's not a spoiler. That's just, life. Life is kind of disappointing, but also wonderful. And maybe I should just get into the episode. So this is a conversation with comedian Naomi Mourra, and it's a delight. I think you're going to love it. Let's go.
And I'd never seen so many lesbians. I've never seen any lesbians, and then I saw all the lesbians, it seemed, in that night.
Hello, my name's Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, the podcast that mourns the death of queer nightlife. Every episode, I talk to a different person about a venue from their past, the memories that they created there, and the people that they used to know. So, you know already, probably, I hope you know, that I love me a story about someone who runs away to figure out who they are. And this week we have a bit of a doozy, if I do say so myself. Naomi Mourra, who is Sydney's only Lebanese lesbian ex-Jehovah's Witness comedian. And I'm not really sure what research she's done to verify that, so I'm just going to take her word for it, is this week's guest. And she first came to London in the late 90s when she was trying to reconcile the thoughts she was feeling about women folk with the teachings of her religion. And whilst she was in London, she got to explore Soho's Candy Bar, a lesbian bar that ran from 1996 till 2014, when it closed due to, surprise, surprise, rising rents. Boo, hiss. Anyway, we talk all about the magic of London, finding your bearings in a new city whilst jettisoning your old religion, which is all you ever knew, and the power of woolly jumpers. Let's get into it.
as a Jehovah's Witness when I was a kid. And the Jehovah's Witness network is vast because they're kind of like made up of congregations that then kind of get clumped together in a sort of circuit of congregations and then in a district. And so you sort of started to know people, you know, your network was quite large.
How often did you have to hang out with them then?
Oh my God, so much. Well, you weren't really allowed friends outside of it.
Oh, okay.
Like, so you go to church 3 times a week, then you would go preaching, then you would go socializing with the same people. So you would work, but then you weren't really allowed to be very good friends with the people that you work with.
But you could only be friends with...
I know.
It's a bit of a catch-22.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's horrific. They became your kind of everything.
And so just like, this isn't actually relevant really to this conversation, but I'm just interested. Is there like a dating website for Jehovah's Witnesses?
I have no idea. Because you know what? I left just as the internet was kind of...
So you've never been like, oh, I wonder if there's a Jehovah, like equivalent of Grindr.
I don't know.
Maybe I could launch that.
I think you should. But I would assume that door knocking is the best way to meet people. Maybe rather than sending a little, like, you know, can't you tap in some of these apps?
Oh, yes. So maybe
you would
the
knock.
app could be called Knocker. Yes. Okay, writing this down.
I think this is genius.
Yeah.
This is genius. Well, they wouldn't have a gay app because they don't have gay people.
Yeah. So I'm probably compromising my morals a bit too much, trying to make money off of the Jehovah's Witness community. But, you know.
Perfect.
A buck's a buck. Okay,
Well,
sorry.
Yep,
So
no worries.
you were in the church.
Yes.
And leaving the church.
Yes.
Because I know, well, I'm sorry, I'm just jumped to the end. I know you have left.
I have left. This is like watching the Titanic. You know how it ends, but still, maybe you want to hear how it happened.
So what... Okay, the first question I have then is the moment that you were like, oh yeah, nah, I'm out.
Well, that's interesting because I mean, weirdly, it came a little bit after I actually left. So I'd felt those feelings of being attracted to women, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. I thought, because I'd never known a gay person, it's not uncommon, I suppose, in a kind of conservative religious environment. So I'd never known it was possible for me to be a woman and be attracted to women. I actually didn't even know of that concept. So what it led me to think is perhaps I was trans, because I thought maybe I was a man. And that would explain why I was attracted to women. I'm not, as it turned out, but at that moment, that's what I thought it was. And so I felt I had this decision where either I had to continue with the religion and be celibate, because the way the Jehovah's Witnesses talk about it is you can be gay, but you just can't act on it. Like you'd be like a non-practicing gay person is their kind of way of looking at it. And I just love practicing, to be honest. Okay, so that was a bit of a hard one to...
Yeah. What would you do with your fingers otherwise?
I know. Well, type. I don't know.
Sorry, I shouldn't have taken it there.
Oh, well, where else could you take it? So anyway, it was either I stayed in and then stayed single, or I left and died at Armageddon. That was what I believed. So we believed Armageddon was going to come any day now. And so if I did anything wrong, I would die at Armageddon. So I thought about that, and then I decided I'd stay celibate. And I'm so ashamed of this, but I'll tell you.
Wait, I'm so ashamed. Get a seat. I'm going to tell you this story.
I'm going to tell you. Some people manage to live with that secret. You know what I mean? That they have these feelings, but they'll continue to be celibate for many years, right? And they come out. I made it to 21 and I was like, this is unbearable. I can't bear it. I have to just do something. And I didn't actually know what to do, because I knew I was going to die one way or another. So this is what I thought. I could just kill myself immediately. Or if I didn't want to do that, what I could do is just leave, and I'd get killed at Armageddon anyway. So it was kind of like, maybe I should give that a go before I rush to do it to myself. So I thought, as I was having these feelings, I actually reached out to, I got 2 brothers and 1 sister. 1 sister was in, and my 2 brothers had left the religion, and I reached out to one of them and explained how I was feeling. He and my other brother and their partners had just moved to London, right, to do like a stint in Europe. And I emailed him and said, this is how I'm feeling and I don't know if I can do it. And he said, why don't you come to London? Why don't I send you some money and get a ticket and come to London, and you don't have to decide anything and you don't have to do anything. You just have some space and you can think about what you want to do.
Which is where our story begins. But before we get into that, I have some follow-up questions. So first of all, did you actually write what you were thinking in an email?
Yeah.
How terrifying was it to hit send?
It was awful. It was awful. But then I was so depressed when I wrote it. So I was so depressed. I wasn't leaving the house. I wasn't showering. I was proper, in that sort of slump that you can kind of get in. And I really thought, I just don't want to live anymore. I just didn't think life was worth it. So in a sense, I had, in my mind, not that much to lose. I had told my sister, who was in the religion, that I had these feelings towards women. And she was kind of very much trying to encourage me to get some counselling, which, is kind of, I don't want to say conversion therapy, but along those lines, where to try and redirect me to
Stamp it out of you.
a different path. So I had her saying that, and then I reached out to my brother because I wanted to, get a different perspective. And what I thought was, if I was trans, I would have to undergo all these, things. And I thought, and then he was very much, look, if that is what it is, then that's fine. You just need to get some headspace, come over and think about it, and we'll look into it. And, he never said anything was off the table or outrageous. He was incredibly supportive. He did a lot. I mean, they all did a lot. But my brother's initial reaction was to pick up the phone and say, look, you're not alone in this, and you just need some time and some space. I know. And so literally transferred money. I booked tickets, and 8 weeks later I was flying over to London.
And so the other question I have is about you thinking that you may be trans.
Yeah.
So you said that you didn't even realize that lesbianism was an option, or that was a thing.
Yes.
But how did you know that trans was?
Well, so I had a very authoritarian father, kind of angry, dominating figure in our lives. And my mum, however, was very different to that, very kind of submissive and soft. Now, I used to watch her sometimes get physically sick, have a physical illness. And this would give her some reprieve from my father and the way he was. When she was sick, he would look after her. So it kind of mixed up the energy. And if she ever wanted a bit of a break, she would get physically ill, and that would kind of change the dynamic. I'm saying this because what I was looking for was an illness to explain how I was feeling. And at that time, obviously I don't think that now, but at that time, you could look up, I could Google those sort of things, and it would come up as a physical, I'll say, illness, but obviously that's not what I think of it now. But it was, it was medicalized, if you like. I don't know the right term, and in looking at that, I felt like if I said that to my mum, there's something wrong with me, I felt probably more justified than just saying this is how I feel. I don't know. That I haven't really thought that through properly as I'm saying it to you, but I think that is it. I just didn't feel that she would accept I'm just attracted to women. Whereas if I came to her with, there's this thing.
And then backing it up with this evidence that you found online that says that there's this condition. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I felt like there would be more sympathy for it than... Anyway, it was a stupid idea because it's not how it turned out at all. I think it was just searching for an answer, which was much more easily explained than that.
And so your brother threw you this lifeline and said, come here, have a bit of time away, have a bit of a fresh scenery in order to just get a different perspective.
Yep.
And you got on a plane, you came to London. What were your first impressions of London?
I mean, I was terrified, and I think I went into a state of trying to fit in where I felt like an alien. When you watch those films of just someone who's lived in a a tribe somewhere and then they're dropped into New York City, one of those stupidly inappropriate films. I honestly felt that. I was like, this is a lot to take in, because I wasn't just living in Sydney, having a normal life, moving to London, which is a big enough adjustment. I was living in Sydney as a very sheltered Jehovah's Witness woman. You know, I had no idea of the world. I wasn't going to bars and clubs. I'd never drank to excess. Like, I never got drunk. I was very naive, very trusting, like so trusting. So I wasn't really, on one hand, I think I was scared and a little bit overwhelmed. And on the other hand, I was so naive, I didn't know that some things were dangerous, not to trust everyone, because I was quite trusting. So I was kind of naively in that situation where probably now on reflection, I think, oh, why did you do that? You know, that's so stupid. So as I was meeting people, I would just totally trust them. I'd go to their house. Like, I just wouldn't, these are things I would do that I would think were normal in my Jehovah's Witness world. And I was just applying them out in the big bad world. And I don't know if I had very good intuition. Well, I must have had something going on, because nothing terrible ever happened to me. So I was kind of quite lucky. I met good people and nothing awful happened. It just was luck, though.
Oh, that's interesting. So how long had your brother been out of the religion at this point? And did he say to you, by the way, don't just go randomly knocking on people's doors?
Well, both of them had been out for a number of years. My eldest brother for a lot of years, 10, 15 years. But my other brother maybe for 7 years, something like that. So they'd both been out for a period of time. I think on reflection, it was amusing to them. Like, I'd tell them stories of what would happen in my day and they'd be like, you what? I don't know, just naive. Like, I'll talk to anyone, chat, because that's what you were encouraged to do.
Yeah.
I've never been so cold in my life than when I was in the UK. And I remember I bought gloves for the first time. Like, I'd never owned gloves or a scarf. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was brought up in Sydney, or a coat. So I was wearing a coat, a scarf and gloves. And then I was reading a book, a physical book, on a bus. And it was so cold on this bus. And there was an old lady sitting next to me. And I'd been trying to read my book, but I had these quite furry gloves on and I was struggling to turn the pages. And so I asked her to turn a page for me. And she did it. She didn't give it a second thought. And we carried on. So she would just turn the page and then I would carry on. Anyway, when I got home to tell my brothers this story, they were like, you what? Like, that is, I mean, you can't do that. And firstly, then they were like, don't talk to anyone on public transport. It's a thing. I was like, okay, don't talk to anyone on public transport. I didn't know. It was such an adjustment. And the other thing is I had to somehow meet new people, make community, which I think is hard. And I didn't go to any church meeting. So I was meant to. I was going to. I thought that would, and then, but I wanted a break from it.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of what I'm asking is, like, when you boarded that plane, did that mammoth flight and then landed in London, were you like, yeah, right, I'm taking control of my destiny, I'm going to be a brand new person? Or were you like, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing, I'm just going to bumble along?
Yep, that was that. I firstly didn't think I was going to leave. I thought I would go to church and carry on, but in London. Secondly, I thought I would return home. It was like a 2-year working holiday visa. I thought I would be home after 1 year or less. Didn't think I'd last the 2 years. I thought I'd see all my friends and family again. I mean, they didn't. Like, my farewell and, seeing people off at the airport was like a funeral. Everyone was absolutely distraught because I think they knew I wasn't going to come back more than I did.
How many people were there? Seeing you away. Sorry, I'm just...
No, that's right. It was
Seeing you away?
Maybe they would just want to make sure I was getting on the plane. I don't know. But I had like 4 of my good friends and, my parents and my sister. So they were the people that I think knew me best. And I think they were trying to make sure, I felt loved and not rejected by them. And that's often what they do. I mean, within the religion, if they sense that you're getting some doubts, that you're you're losing a bit of faith, they just gather around, and it's called love bomb. They just,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
love it, all that stuff, so that you're not tempted away. So I think in
Yeah.
part that's what was happening. And, I didn't think I was going to go away, but literally I landed and, didn't want to go to any meetings. I wanted some time away to think about what I was going to do. And my brother and his girlfriend took me out one night, to the Candy Bar, which was at that point, a lesbian bar in Soho, which was mind-boggling to me. Like, I went in like a thick jumper and jeans. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, just a very modest clothes, let's just say. And I'd never seen so many lesbians. I've never seen any lesbians. And then I saw all the lesbians, it seemed, in that night. Yeah, it was intense. I didn't feel comfortable. I don't know if you're meant to feel comfortable the first time you go to a gay bar, do you?
Well, and also when your brother is there.
Oh, yeah. He's very free and very
Oh, I know,
comfortable
but
with
like
him.
even, you don't kind of want to get turned on. And I mean, not that I'm saying
suppose.
you like walked in the door and were like, wow, but you don't want to act on anything that's potentially sexual in front of your brother, do you? Maybe some people do.
I mean, I don't know what your family's like, so I don't want to make any judgments. But
No.
I was so far away from feeling anywhere near confident. I was still thinking I wasn't a lesbian. So I think he was just like, why don't you just come with us? We're going to hang
So
out.
sweet.
It
That's so
is
sweet.
very sweet.
And so did they say BT dubs were going to a lesbian bar, or were they just
Yeah.
like, hey, let's go into Soho? Why not? Let's go. Oh, what's this bar?
I mean, I do like sweets. And so going somewhere called the Candy Bar might have appealed, but they didn't do it surreptitiously. I knew where I was going.
And so did they tell you like that day? Like how long did you have to mentally prepare?
I don't remember. I actually don't remember if I was preparing that much for it. I think I would have overthought it a little bit. So I don't think it must have been a lot of notice. And I think it was very much, let's just go for a drink. Like we would go out anyway. Like we would go to a bar.
Put on your best layers of sweaters and jumpers.
If you've got any ski wear, that's perfect. That's going to fit in very well with this place. So, I guess I just, I remember it had 3 floors. It had the main bar is what you walked into, and so there was the kind of main bar and some seating. And then upstairs, of course, there was a pool table, very necessary. I liked pool, so that was a good in. So I remember going up there and playing pool. And then downstairs in the basement was like the club bit where there was a DJ booth and stuff. So it was kind of smallish, but it had those 3 different environments. And yeah, we just got into it, I suppose. And also remember I didn't really know how to drink a lot or what my drinking capacity was. So I was just kind of navigating my way through that. And I just saw a lot of lesbians and I didn't see myself there. It's so weird. On the first time I thought, thank you so much for taking me. That's really kind of you. We met some people on the night. It was a gay guy and a lesbian and they were really best friends. And we hung out with them and we hit it off playing pool. And after going to the Candy Bar, we went on to heaven. Not actual heaven. Although, what a way to end that story. It just
Armageddon came. That's it.
Hey, that's a good point, actually. When I was in there, because I still believed, it crossed my mind that this would be typical, that Armageddon would come and then I would be found in a lesbian bar and that would be the end. So every time I entered a premises that I knew I shouldn't be in, I just thought, Armageddon is going to come and I'm going to be here. So mad.
How did that change the way you approached your evening? Or was it just like a fleeting thought and then you were like, who cares?
I have to push through. Yeah. I think I was a bit reserved, like more reserved than I would be now. And just taking it all in. I was curious. I don't think I was heavily judgy of others. I was judgy of myself, I think. I just thought something bad was going to happen to me. Because they tell you really, as you move away from those beliefs that something bad's going to happen. Like the world's a dangerous place. So I was out in the world thinking this is bad, like something bad's going to happen to me. So I was a bit scared in that kind of regard. And also, lesbians are in that environment. like it was pretty heavy. It's a sort of intense environment. Do you know what I mean?
Well, just let's unpack that a little bit more. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know, because there's a lot of like full on chasing that kind of goes on. And I know you're like, and that is the whole point. But, to walk into that fresh, it's kind of intimidating, I think.
Well, and you thought everyone was like, oh, I love her huge jumper. I'm going to... Sorry, I don't know why I'm like picking on you today.
Yes, I think they liked a thick knit. Shut up. That is exactly. You should have seen the queue. No, I mean, it wasn't for me, obviously. It was just that environment just felt like everyone was looking at you as you walked in.
Yeah, sizing you up.
Yeah. Was it not like that for you? Or were you straight away like, I found my people?
No, yeah, definitely wasn't like that for me.
Right.
I mean, the way that you're talking about it makes me think that it was a sexual energy. And I don't think I felt that necessarily. I think I felt like, oh, you're not good enough.
Oh.
More than anything else.
Yeah, right. Because of how everyone was looking.
Yeah. Or like looking and then making a snap judgment not to continue looking.
Oh my God, that is intense.
No, but like,
I get it.
But when you're in those environments where everyone's really like, I'm cooler than you.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just exhausting more than anything else. So I think that's probably my overriding memory of initially going to spaces.
I think that's probably part of it, right? Like where you feel completely out of place. Oh, I felt out of place, that's for sure. And I felt like if you looked at me, you knew that I shouldn't be there.
Didn't belong.
Yeah.
And you know what the really interesting thing is? Everyone thinks that.
It's so funny.
And if we all were just like, oh, I feel a bit funny, and everyone would go like, oh, me too, and then we'd all be fine.
Well,
but we all just like, oh.
It's a horror. Like, I know some people just love their early 20s and like that was the prime of their life and they had a fantastic time. I have not enjoyed life more than since I turned 40 because that care factor for where do I fit in this room as I walk into it is so much less than it was. And I don't have those same thoughts. Yeah, I mean, I've got some, and there are some environments that might kick it off in me more than others, but I'm nowhere near. I could walk into a bar now, even as an old lady, and feel like, oh, well, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever. That's This is fun. Like, I'm going to have a nice time. Not let it get to me in the same way.
But do you think that is age, or do you think that's because you found people and you feel confident in the relationships you have with them?
Yeah, probably you're right. I mean, there's probably finding people and it's probably connecting in a way and appreciating those connections more as time has gone on. So maybe age is part of it, but only because I've had more time to get to know myself and other people. And yeah, like you say, be, appreciated for who you are, not what you look like or your woolen jumper. I just want to be more than a woolly jumper. Do you know? That's all.
You're never going to be more than a woolly jumper to me, just so you know.
Oh, God. It's humiliating. It's funny.
Yeah, I think it's really liberating to realize how, stupid everyone else is. Because I think I always just thought everyone else had it all figured out. And, now knowing that no one does.
No.
And that everyone is riddled with the same insecurity. Well, maybe not the same insecurities, but enough insecurities to topple you over. It's just like, oh, okay, well...
That's all right.
That's your issue. It's not my issue. Yeah.
That's it. You can't be expected to carry around everybody's issues.
Yeah.
Or your own, like some of them.
Yeah, if I carried my own and broke my back. But yeah, I think I used to think that. I used to think, and I had this perfectionist tendency where I want to appear as though I know things and that I understand things and I know what's going on and you're not going to fool me. And now I'm like, oh, well, maybe you will.
I love that. I read a book about certainty because that's one of the things about leaving a religion like Jehovah's Witnesses, which is you are told that you have the truth and that you are absolutely certain of your position. And there's not anything that someone's going to tell you that will shake it because you are so certain. And I think we like that certainty. It's nice to think that you know stuff and that you're not just standing on wobbly foundations of knowledge, And so one of the hardest things I think about moving away from a religion is going, oh, everything I thought was absolutely certain, is no longer, like all of it. It's like, oh God, so where do you start? I thought God created Earth and humans. Now, oh no, evolution turned out is the right path. You know, I thought Armageddon was coming. Oh no, Armageddon's not coming. So what does that mean? Armageddon's not coming. There is no God, is where I've ended up on it. I know other people might end somewhere different.
Yeah.
But that means this is it. Like, I'm 20-something years into this one life that I'm going to have. And if I don't figure out what I'm going to do with it, what's my plan? This is it. I've got to now think, what do I want to do? You know, that sort of wake up of like, you're wasting time. What have you done? You've wasted so much of your life so far, and time to crack on and do something with your life it builds up a sense of urgency. And what I learned in having completely my beliefs dismantled is that certainty is very fickle. I feel more comfortable with uncertainty. So now if I believe something, if I think something, and then I get some other information, or there's more, you know, I have a conversation with someone and I think about what they're saying, I'll change my mind. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Whereas before I used to think, oh, we don't like when people change their mind, or, you know, we think we are not
a sign
allowed
of
to change our...
weakness or-
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas I
yeah,
think it's a sign
yeah.
of strength now. It's good. I love talking to people with a very, very different perspective, and suddenly you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. You know, I just hadn't thought that way at all. And so it makes me think, yeah.
So I'm going to ask a question about the religion. And don't mean to sound... Oh, I'm just going to ask. I'm sorry,
Ask
I'm
it.
just doing a big preamble.
No, go for it.
So all of these things that you said that you were certain of, and that you were thinking that, yes, there is a God, yes, the end of the world's coming and I'm going to be fine like everyone else. Did you like actually believe that?
I actually believed it.
And so there was no part of you that was like,
No. I mean, I know other people are different, but look, I mean, I was taught this stuff not by a church. I was taught this stuff by my parents. My parents were telling me this is what was happening. They were living in a way as if... I like to compare it to... did you believe in Santa?
I don't know. I have older siblings. So
They told you.
everything was ruined for me like quite early.
Okay. God damn it. I'm sorry about your life, all right? But a lot of people believed in Santa. It's the only equivalent where you realise one day that Santa's not real. And that means your whole life, your parents have told you an untruth.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
may have done it for your own good, and I'm not saying it's a horrible thing,
Yeah,
but
of
it's an
course.
example of where you believe something and then you go, oh no, that's not true. And on reflection, I saw wrapped presents and I saw this. But at the time, I kind of believed it,
Yeah.
and maybe I wanted to believe it because, you know, I wasn't loving life in the religion. So the idea that this life was going to end and I was going to have another life, which was going to be so much better than this one, is very appealing. And actually, I think that's why some people get suckered into religions, because they don't have a great life right now. Surely this life, in the way where I've been born and, you know, in this family, can't be it, because that would be really depressing.
Yeah.
So I think I wanted to believe it. However, saying that, as I got older, I befriended people who were not Jehovah's Witnesses, and it would just occur to me that they were going to die at this Armageddon that I was so looking forward to, you know, because that would mean that this world was going to end. And I struggled with that. I struggled with the human aspect of it. Every time I'd think, oh, these people are going to die and these people are going to die, and I think they're good people. And I couldn't make sense of that. But they had answers for anything that you chucked at them. They had some bullshit answer too, which I had to absorb. I don't know. It's weird what you will believe if it's surrounding you, you know? Family all believed it. All my friends believed it. I go to the church, they all believed it.
Yeah. And I live in a country that voted for Brexit, so I can see how it can happen, I guess.
Oh, an echo chamber is an amazing place to be. It's just, you know, you never get other people's perspectives. You never really open your mind long enough to listen to anyone else.
Yeah.
No,
And the group starts policing the individuals within that group, right?
absolutely.
So they start doing that work for you.
Absolutely. Well, you're told that you are saving them, because if they are making thoughts or, you know, having doubts and going somewhere else, that they will die at Armageddon. So if you want to save them, you better tell us so we can bring them back into the fold. So you're not thinking you're dobbing them in like some kind of, policeman. You're thinking you're shepherding them back into the fold. So otherwise they'll get eaten. Not literally. Sometimes literally, but now we're going off.
Yeah, now we're going off. How do we tie this back into lesbianism?
Oh, well, I became very certain that I was a lesbian. Does that help? I did become certain.
And all the lesbians were gathering round and there were rituals and okay, no, sorry.
I didn't know you knew about the rituals. I wasn't going to talk about it. It's secret, but all right.
Well, I've been doing this show for many
years.
Yes. Sometimes people let it slip.
It's leaked, as they say. Oh, God. I mean, that whole community thing is a theme for me because what I wanted immediately in getting into London was a community. I was used to being part of a group. It was weird for me to be on my own and think of myself as an individual. Does that make any sense?
And then, so does that mean you made some bad decisions and threw yourself into friend groups or threw yourself into things just because you wanted that community aspect?
It wasn't too bad. I had the safety, I think, of my brothers and I was socialising with them as well as making new, I suppose, lesbian community friendships. So I did go to the candy bar. That was kind of my first adventure. And then when I got home, I suppose, I went online and I joined, those, now, this was late 90s. You ready for this?
Aww,
Gay.com. You were there?
Yeah.
Gay.com. I was in the lesbian chat rooms. And I started to get really into that. Like there'd be a group of us of an evening after work that would come in and, it was very platonic, actually.
Yeah.
And it was just a group of people. How was your day? That sort of thing. And that worked better for me because I felt less intimidated by it.
No one was judging your jumper.
Yes. I could do it in my jumper, in my home. There were no webcams. Do you remember that? So I just had to send a photo periodically if people were like, hey, what do you actually look like? But it was all very platonic and innocent. And then one day we decided, the group of people, to do a meet. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember those?
I mean, no, I've not done that. But like a meetup, yeah.
A meetup, yeah. So we've been chatting online under our pseudonyms or whatever, and now we were going to all meet in the candy bar in London. I know. And there were people coming from different parts of the UK. And in the lead up to that, there was someone who I was chatting to a bit more than others, like in private. And,
DMs, yeah.
and we decided to meet up before meeting everybody else, so we didn't walk in on our own. And that happened to be my first girlfriend. So there you go. That was pretty early stages relationship. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So let's go back first before I ask follow-up questions about your first girlfriend. So you'd said that when you first went to the candy bar with your brother and his girlfriend.
Yes, with my jumper.
With your jumper. You were still like, not really sure if I am a lesbian.
Yeah.
At what point were you like, defo?
Really not that long after.
Okay. So on the night bus home.
No. It was, I think, the second visit. It was even the second time. I was like, oh, okay. And
Second visit. I'm not sure. Can we go back?
Yes, exactly. Oh, God. It's so hopeless. I mean, I didn't fight it for long. That's the lesson. I just jumped right in after that. It's like when the water's cold and you're like, oh, no, can't get in. And then someone says, you got to just jump in. And then it'll be all right. And then, so I did that.
And so in going the second time, you were less overwhelmed, you were more familiar with the space, let's say, and then you were like able to notice things that you weren't able to notice the first time.
Yeah, like even towards the end of that night, as we were getting to know these people that we just met that night, I mean, I'm still friends with them, which is amazing. But as I was getting to know them, I was like, oh, you're kind of normal. Like I can get to know you and I can have a laugh and that's okay. You don't scare me in the way that, I wasn't intimidated by it. And nothing ever, it was always a very platonic friendship. So, I think after that it felt a bit easier to kind of break into that scene a little bit. But in typical fashion, I went straight into that relationship. So I have never really done the playing of the field, never got into, I've always then been in a relationship and in friendship groups. We would go out and stuff after that.
Yeah. Well, and then so that's what I was going to ask about that first girlfriend. So what should we call her, first of all? Girl one?
Yes. Let's.
Sorry, I saw the look of panic on your face.
Yes.
Like, oh, I can't give her a real name, but I can't think of another name quickly enough. Anyway,
I
so
know,
girl one.
yes, good, thanks.
This going back to what I was saying before, were you, oh, I'm going to throw myself into this because this is a replacement for the religion that I've just left.
Not consciously.
Sorry, I'm diagnosing
No,
you. Sorry.
no, you've hit the nail on the head, right? You've hit the nail on the head immediately, but I never did that consciously. I had no idea what was happening at the time. I just suddenly felt very vulnerable and out in the world, and like all my safety nets, other than my brothers, I mean, they were definitely there, but that comfort of like being safe, I didn't feel. I just felt I was living from paycheck to paycheck. I was living in like a room in their house. Like there was no way I could afford to be on my own. So I was like, this is like a scary situation in a way, especially when I knew that if I was a lesbian, I could never go home. There was just no way. So I knew I wasn't going to be welcome. And also now I have no education because Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in further education because they believe the world's ending. What's the point? Right? So I'd left school at 16. So I was like, how am I going to make this work? Like, how am I going to get work? And now if I have to live until Armageddon comes, like I have to afford to live and who's going to employ me and all that sort of weird stuff. So that was all kind of going on. And I think subconsciously, I just wanted to be with someone where I felt safe. And I think that's what drove me. I mean, I don't know why I hooked up with someone so quickly. I think it was just, we made a connection. We could chat for a really long time. It was easy to talk. I didn't.
And so what happened with that relationship then?
Oh, my God. I'm going to shorten it for you and we're going to move.
I think, oh, my God, was probably enough, really.
Well, it lasted 11 years. 11 years.
Oh, wow.
We had a civil partnership and a child. And that's
so it
how long
went
it
kind of
lasted.
all right then.
It went kind of all right, yeah.
But that was your first one.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
and for that
shit.
reason, I was probably not in, the best space to be truly myself. I
Yeah.
think I was very much just that woman that's come out of a religion, and I didn't know who I was, so I didn't know how to bring that into a relationship particularly well, and I probably didn't match myself up with the right person for who it turned out I was. So we probably weren't the right match. But for many years we were together and happy, and, it sort of was, my first big relationship. On that first time I was going out to meet with people I'd been chatting to on the internet by myself because I wasn't going with my brothers. He'd stopped coming with me to lesbian bars by then.
But so I'm not going to get any stories of raucous nights out at the candy bar then?
Oh, there were raucous nights. There were. But not raucous in the way that I suspect you're asking. I didn't turn up one night with a woolen jumper on and stand to a queue of women. No, that didn't happen.
Beckoning them to your shores.
I know.
So that's interesting. So how did that all work then, given that you got into that relationship and then presumably at the end of the 2 years you had to make a decision about going back to Australia or not?
That's exactly right. So at the end of 2 years, at that time, the way immigration laws were, we wanted to stay together. The way immigration laws were, we had to be living together for 2 years before being able to make an application. So we needed, I guess, another year to add to our 1 year because, of course, we met in December.
I don't even need to ask, yeah.
When do you think we moved in together? February, yes.
Oh, that's all right.
Is it?
That's all right.
2.5 months? I don't know. I don't think it's all right. Anyway.
Well, it's probably not all right, but in comparison to others, you're
true.
like, well,
All right. Thanks. Thanks a lot. I suppose you got it all out with the woolly jumper and now you're going easy on me. So what we decided is that she would apply for a working holiday for Australia, and we just came and lived here for a year. And that was a big time for me because that was me returning home for the first time. So I had to face the music. So, I mean, I'd very much, I had told my mum, or I told my sister that I'd met someone and this is what I'm doing. I mean, not literally, obviously. We hadn't got into the ins and outs, but... And then she told my mother. My mum spent the whole time that I was in England very upset. She thought, every time I spoke to her, she was upset and crying. I think she felt... She had 4 children, and now this was the third one who was going to die at Armageddon. And, and I used to get frustrated, and I'd be like, that's not even true, Mum. Like, that's not even going to happen. And there's no point telling people that actually believe that, what they believe in isn't quite right. So, yeah, that was really hard. And then when I came back, I had to try and think of like I wrote to the 4 friends that came to the airport to say, look, I'm coming back. And we were still in contact over the phone and, loosely while I was away. But I wrote to them in the email, look, this is the thing, I've met someone and, it's a woman and I'm really happy. I don't know if that helps because I was so not happy when I left, but I'm, I feel keen to live now and all this stuff. And so they did the right thing as far as their religion's concerned, because Jehovah's Witnesses do the shunning thing. So if you leave, they cut you off from the organisation. Not the organisation, from the people. Who cares about the organisation? So they stop talking to you. They literally don't say hello. And so that was what I knew I would have to face about coming back home. And that was hard. Look, that was hard. It was so much easier to try and create a new community and get on with my life when I was in London and everybody else was here, because I had to do it anyway. Like, it didn't matter. Whereas coming home, being in the same kind of city, in the same environment, and not being able to talk to my whole network of people here, including family, that was really when it was a bit hard. And so I did see my mum. My mum has never stopped talking to me, and to both my brothers. She's never shunned us in the way she's supposed to. But my dad did. So my dad had stopped talking to both my brothers before I left. So I kind of knew to face the music with him. So when I came back, I wanted to tell him, to his face, what had happened. And what had happened. Like an accident. Anyway, I wanted to talk to him about this freak accident where I tripped over and fell onto a lesbian. And he didn't immediately kick off like he did with my brothers. He'd had a bit of a big argument, there was a big drama, you're no longer my son, that sort of thing. With me, he was very gradual with his shunning. So he's kind of fine. I mean, he told me what he thought about it, which was unnatural and all the stuff, but he kept it very level. I left that day and I thought, oh, this has gone well, but progressively over the next few visits, he went from short to silent.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. I think he just found it a bit harder to do it because I'm the youngest daughter by a long shot. So I think he found it a little bit harder to be such an arsehole.
But it's almost worse, isn't it? Because at least you know where you stand when someone's
Thank you.
You're no longer my daughter.
That's how I felt.
Like,
I felt like I didn't have closure or an opportunity to defend myself because I thought that conversation had gone well. Like I'd said, I know how you feel and I appreciate that and I respect that, but this is my life. It's my decision. This is what it was. And, I was angry in a way at the time and I wanted to fight about it. Do you know what I mean? I was starting to feel that sense of pride and pride's not the right word because it took me ages to feel pride. I think it was more acceptance.
Indignation. Okay.
Yes. Righteous indignation, yes. I was just starting to accept myself and I wanted to be accepted.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to love it, but I just wanted them to accept it.
Yeah, that it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course I knew they weren't able to. They're just not able to. So we did the year living here and then we went back and applied for a visa for the UK and then I went back and lived there for another 8 years after that.
Ah, okay.
So it was nice. I had that community in London and I could go back to that because that then felt like home.
So girl one who was oh my God, I can't believe you didn't go and sow your wild
So my
oats.
seed, my oats, yeah. Well, I ended up with porridge, just a lot of oats in one bowl.
Oh, that's how lesbian sex works.
That's
okay.
right.
So you kind of just were like, yep, you'll do. Let's settle down. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that 11 years, what happened?
Oh, I put a great big bomb under it. I was not very good. And the thing is, I lacked emotional maturity to be graceful in anything. In a way, I think the way I exited Australia and, discovered I was gay was a similar thing. A lot of people didn't know. I didn't have a long lead time. It was just like, bang, it's done, it's decided, and I'm running away. So that's the lack of maturity thing that I think, I escaped it. I wasn't happy, and it took me ages to realise I wasn't happy. It took me ages, like I did in the religion. I just tried and tried and tried, and I was like, actually, I'm just not happy.
But is that a lack of maturity, or is that just that you're just taking a long time to process things and not externalizing any of those thoughts? Maybe that is the same. Yeah.
I think I do internalise it, because I think when you're brought up in a very strict religion, which is not accepting of a lot of things, you have to
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
internally. So I think I was practiced at that. I think where I lacked maturity is in acknowledging or realising the
Yeah.
impact of that on somebody else, right? Like, I thought I could manage myself and everything would be okay on the outside. And I think possibly the lack of maturity meant I didn't welcome somebody into my thoughts who I was meant to be spending my
Yeah.
life with, and try and maybe try and work on it. By the time I actually verbalized it, I wanted it to be over, no discussion.
Yeah. You'd
It's
made the
not great.
choice.
Yeah, it's not great. I feel so differently about it now. So yeah, I'd like to be in touch with my feelings more and earlier, so that I'm not finding myself being dragged along behind it, rather than sort of working with those emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Or swimming against them.
Even worse, you're right. Yeah, because you knacker yourself. You knacker yourself and you become very, like, in survival mode, like quite self-focused. It's very hard to be empathetic, when you're exhausted from, swimming against your own feelings rather than accepting them and discussing them and doing the things you would expect a sort of adult to manage.
A sort of adult. Yeah.
Well, I'm never going to say I'm a total adult, to be fair. It's always going to be kind of, sort of sometimes. But I think you get stunted. And I see this as well, I think, in friends that have come out in a difficult way, or, have had trauma or something, where you sort of get frozen at a particular time in your life. And even though you're older, you're a little bit still in that mindset, and sometimes haven't progressed from there. And often something has to happen and it sort of shakes you out of that frozen moment in time.
So what was your thing?
Well, I guess smashing that relationship, like, and ending that relationship was a wake-up call. I wasn't expecting myself to end it. I was committed to it. I didn't expect, for me to do that and suddenly find myself in that situation. Yeah, I didn't think I was that. And that really made me go, wait, what? Who am I? What is this? What am I doing? What is this life? So yeah, I think that was a big wake-up call for me.
So then,
Yes.
when you look back on your time in London, what do you feel?
I feel like, well, I've mixed feelings about it because I had such a good time in many ways. But it feels like I didn't make the best use of that time, and I didn't make the most of that time. When people say they have no regrets, I understand the principle of that, but I'm always full of regrets all the time. I can regret my last meal.
What was it?
Oh, what was it? A burger. There you go. See? That full of regrets. Probably should have had a salad.
Well, it's kind of a salad. There's lettuce on it.
It's
tomatoes.
You know what? And tomatoes and some onions. So
Yeah.
and
yeah.
beetroot. That's very Aussie burger. I know. But I mean, there are 5 vegetables in there that we've just rolled off the tongue.
I wouldn't beat myself up about that if I were you.
I won't. I can't, because I've got very little energy for the nutritional value that it serves me. But look, I regret not being single in London. That's stupid. That's absolutely the place to be single when you're young. I regret not traveling more. I got very focused on work. I worked really hard because I had a lot to prove, a good dose of imposter syndrome with no education. So I was like, I just have to work really hard. Like, I have to prove myself and try and make a career. So I spent a lot of time working and probably not as much time as I would like enjoying life. But that follows you around. That's not because I was in London. COVID helped me with that one more than anything. That was good. That shook me out of that, like, must work, must make a living. But I met really great people, and I had this weird thing. Like, I'm still friends with people that I was chatting to on gay.com. The first meet, some of my closest friends are from there. My first job in London, I've still got friends. That second job, still friends. And that's one thing I like about the UK, which I find always a bit hard to explain, which is, you joke about Londoners, not being particularly warm and friendly or whatever. But I found that depth of friendship was deeper. Like, you can have very friendly people here in Australia, and it takes longer to actually, I think, break through and make friends. Whereas you could meet someone on a night out and, well, I did. And then that's it. They're still friends. If I go back to London now, I'd see them. It's crazy. And I don't know whether that's normal. I don't know whether that was because I wanted to maintain friendships and I didn't have any alternatives. I think perhaps there is a bit of that. I think if you had your friend circle already set, maybe you can't be bothered. I don't know. But I love that. I love that those friendships have endured the years, and that it's like having some history with someone that remembers, oh, do you remember when we were wearing woolly jumpers in bars? And man, sorry, that's stupid.
Woolly jumpers. So then, if you could go back in time to that very first night that you were at the candy bar with your brother and his girlfriend, and you were able to have a conversation with Naomi and be like, hey, I've got some advice for you. Listen up. Other than take that fucking jumper off, you idiot, what would you say?
Well, that wasn't on the agenda, but all right, I will put it on.
Sorry, you were very harsh when I was channeling you. That wasn't me.
What would I tell her? I think I'd probably want her to slow down, and that's advice I'd still tell myself now. I try to slow down, but slow down, not to rush into trying to find out what this next phase of your life is going to be, and allow things to kind of be a bit more organic. I think I didn't know I would be okay. I didn't think I would be okay. So I was desperately trying to find a way to make it okay, rather than just go, you'll be all right, you'll work hard, you'll get a job and you'll be able to pay your own bills. You don't have to. There's just something about feeling a little bit like without a safety net that makes you feel very driven on how is this going to be. I didn't feel lovable. I didn't feel attractive as a woman. I didn't really know what that felt like. I'd spent many years being judged in a very sort of Jehovah's Witness male lens, which is, probably fairly typical of that conservative religious mindset where you had to be small and ladylike and feminine and submissive. Yeah. And I was just everything I described, the opposite. And I was just like a bit of a blunt instrument. And, it's good to be funny, but it was good to be funny if you're a bloke. I mean, you don't need to be a funny woman. You just need to know, so all of the things I felt strong in weren't great, weren't supporting my gender particularly in that environment. So when I came into understanding that I was a lesbian, I had no idea. Like, I knew I wasn't particularly butch, so when I looked at women who were quite butch and I could see that was one way, I wasn't very feminine, so I was in that kind of probably, that tomboyish zone. I wasn't confident with my sexuality or sexually confident, and I was very confident to be a friend. I'd be a friend, definitely, but I didn't feel the confidence of like, oh, how do you take it to the next level or that I could,
But you did land it on your first try. I just have to put that out there.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I needed that. I did. Yeah, that's helped. That's helpful. It's just like, it's so, it just took a really long time to figure that out. And also, I didn't know what I liked in women either. So if I just taken a bit more time, just taken it a bit slower, just hung out a little bit with different types of people, I think that would have been smart. And so that's probably what I would have told myself. Calm down, slow down.
Do you have any memories from the candy bar or clubbing from your own queer scene that you want to share? Well, if you do, I would love to hear all about it. I am planning to build the biggest online record of people's memories and stories of queer clubbing, but I need your help. Go to lostspacespodcast.com and find the section Share a Lost Space to tell me all about what you got up to and where it was. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where I am quite happy to have a bit of a natter. My handle across all three is Lost Spaces Pod.
Find out more about Naomi by following her on Instagram at Naomi Mourra and Facebook where it's at Naomi Mourra Comedy. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate if you subscribed on your podcast platform that you're using right now, left a review, or just told someone else who you think might be interested in giving it a wee listen too. My name is Kay Anderson, and you have been listening to Lost Spaces.